I'm Logan Webb, and you're listening to TortureCast.
You're listening to a podcast by and for fans of the three-time world champion, San Francisco Giants. With hosts Chad King and Eric Nathanson. This is TortureCast.
It's Wednesday, July 17th, 2024, and this is episode 303 of the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. I'm your host, Chad King, and joining me today, Eric Nathanson, man. We were just lamenting about grocery prices. We're getting old. I think we're definitely in that get off my lawn phase, and now we're starting to do it with the Giants too. But how you doing?
I'm doing all right. It's the thing that, it was pointed out to me the other day. Back when we were kids, we used to watch movies and we'd root for the kids and we'd think the parents were totally uncool. Now we're watching it and we're like, oh, the parents are being totally reasonable. Why are these kids little jerks? And now we're the parents that are totally reasonable. So it's just kind of funny that it happens. It's break time. It's summer break time right now for baseball with the All-Star game. So, there's all sorts of things going on. But I'm happy we're back. Happy we're recording again. Happy to talk about the Giants, even if the Giants aren't happy to have us talking about them.
Well, to borrow a term from Gen Z, because my kids are saying a lot of this stuff, the Giants are what you would call, or what they would call, mid right now.
Very much.
They're very mid. They might even be Ohio, as another term that they would say. Ohio, I guess it's like crappy. If I understand that right. But it's definitely not skibbity. And they don't have good Riz right now.
Oh, my.
Am I using all these correctly? I don't know.
We just lost. Sorry to all of you listeners that we just lost.
Yeah, I don't think many Gen Z listen to this. Although if you do, thank you for your patronage. We do appreciate that.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah, please. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And please let me know how wrongly I used your terms. Hey, look, every generation has their colloquialisms. I get it. I had like moded, facial scrub. Those weird things. Those are maybe more West Coast terms, but Valley Girl kind of things. It was. I don't know,
but it happens. Man. It happens with baseball too.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not developing new pitches. We're just rebranding the same pitches.
Splinker?
Like right. And the sweeper. The sweeper's just a curveball that moves a lot,
Yeah.
But no, we've got to come up with new names for everything. A cut fastball was like unbelievable new, and now it's the norm, a cut fastball. Like, I don't know. It's the same thing where we keep trying to rebrand. And there's no need to. A splinker. No. Okay, splitter sinker. So what? He's got a splitter grip. Then it's a splitter.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's the same type of thing in baseball.
No. Yeah. Speaking of which, you did mention we are at the All-Star break. They just played the All-Star game yesterday, and the Giants. Let's be honest.
Oops.
We were thinking at the beginning of the year that they had a pretty damn good chance with all of their acquisitions that they would be, headed for at least the wild card here. Probably not overtaking the Dodgers, of course, but, head for that 85 to 90 win kind of season. Well, that's going to be a tough hill to climb right now. The Giants are 3 games under 500, and even though they're only 3 games back of the third and final wild card spot, the problem is that they would have to overtake 5 teams. And then there's one team just a half game behind them in the Cubs. So that is a very crowded field. I mean, I don't recall the wild card being filled with so much mediocrity in a particular year, but you really only have the Marlins and the Rockies that are completely out of it. And then the Nationals are 3 games behind the Giants, so they're just about out of it. But pretty much everyone else in the National League is in playoff contention, and that's what makes it so difficult. Because on one hand, you go, it's only 3 games. They can make up 3 games. Well, yeah, but what if the Reds or Pirates or Padres or Diamondbacks or Mets, or of course Cardinals are in there too, they're that second wild card spot, All of them are not going to tank, Eric. Every single one of them, almost every single one of them, would have to play 500 or worse, and the Giants would have to play many games above 500 to overtake every single one of those teams. That's the problem with the math. So when a lot of people go, oh, it's only 3 games out, they can do that. Sure, they might be able to hit 83, 84, 85 wins if they hit a really, really hot streak. But with the other 5 or 6 teams in contention, at least 1 or 2 or even 3 of those other teams are going to do just as well or better than the Giants, and that's the problem.
Yeah, so sounds like you're saying the National League is kind of mid. Um,
Very much.
I mean, but that is the thing, is it's the pseudo be in the race because of the new wild card. The expanded race has made it so every team thinks that they're within striking distance. Like you said, there's like 3 teams that aren't. But I'll give credit to Farhan. I don't know if you saw his comments last week on
Yeah.
KNBR. He said it. He said we have not played well, and if we continue not to play well, then it's going to be time to sell some pieces. I'm paraphrasing here, and it was the first time in his tenure that I can ever remember him actually coming out and saying that.
Yep.
And so it's it's nice to see that he's trying to light a fire, but as we'll get into, are they going to have the pieces to do it? I mean, Snell's looked great lately. Just as a quick aside, before the season started in our preview show, we both picked Logan Webb to be an All Star. Neither of us
Mm-hmm.
had Ramos, but we both picked Logan Webb. I also had Chapman. So did you. You also had Snell, but he's pitching like an all-star lately. So, like, do we suddenly have hope? Robbie Ray's coming back. Blake Snell's pitching better. Logan Webb should right himself. We don't know what's going to happen with Jordan Hicks. Kyle Harrison's a little bit of a question mark, but do they have enough to hang with it? And with the phrase of the day, the National League being mid, they have a shot, even if they get to 85 wins. I mean, these teams are all bunched together. None of them are running away with it. Even when St.
Mm-hmm.
Louis goes on a streak, they're still catchable at this point. Hell, I didn't even know New York had climbed their way up into the third wild card at this point.
Yeah, they got
I
hot.
thought they were, yeah, it keeps rotating. So, I mean, the Giants have to hang in there and then take care of business in September. But, will they do that? We'll see. We've got all sorts of things coming back. I don't know. I'm not excited at the prospect of the Giants making the playoffs this year. This is not a year that I'm looking at it going, oh, if they just do this and this, it kind of feels like a missed opportunity year. I mean, we're halfway through it now, and I feel like we felt better at the All Star break even last year than we do this year. This year just feels so underwhelming that I think that that's kind of why I don't see a path to the playoffs at this point.
Yeah, last year the Giants had a secure hold on the wild card spot at the break. They were above 500, and obviously they had just a horrific August and September, which just plummeted them out of contention. They need the opposite to happen this year. They're out of contention right now. Let me put it this way: to get to 85 wins, which by the way is no guarantee whatsoever of making a wild card, but let's just use that as a benchmark, as some sort of post to look at. They would have to go 38-27 the rest of the way. They have 65 games left. I mean, that's 11 games above 500 in a third of a season, right? That's playing at a really high clip. I, I, Eric, I mean, come on. I just don't see that happening.
Well, they haven't shown that they can play at that clip yet, so why
No,
would we see
every
it
time
happen?
they start to approach 500, they just fall right back down. They've had 4 days this entire season in which they were at or above 500. Think about that. I mean, it's just bad. So again, 85 isn't even a guarantee. I think it might be with this kind of bunch of mediocrity this year. It might take 86 or 87 to get there, which makes it that much harder. And then the Giants, coming right out of the break. The good news is that they have 6 of their first 10 against Colorado. The bad news is that the first 7 are all on the road at Colorado and then 4 at the Dodgers. So, um, you know, if the Giants go 6-4 or 5-5 for those 10, I would say that's probably all we can hope for. I mean, 7-3 or 8-2, unless they sweep the Rockies or win 5 out of 6, I just don't see that happening. Thankfully, they have owned the Rockies lately in this season, and the Rockies, have like the worst record. But you never know. In Colorado, weird things happen, man. as we all know, it can be a house of horrors any given weekend. So um, I think the first 10 games, because that's a sixth of the games left, is really going to go far in dictating where the Giants go. And because those 10 days are just timed with where the trade deadline is, which is July 30th, that's when the Giants have to make their decision, which they're going to be sellers or buyers or stand pat. Uh, I don't see them being buyers at this point. And again, most of the buying they've done under the Farhan regime, I mean, they have a couple exceptions, have been pretty mild, right? Just getting a reliever here or there or whatever. Um, I just if they're 5-5 over the next 10 and they're still 3 games under 500 at this trade deadline, I think that's all she wrote. I think Farhan is at that point, since he's already made those comments like you just brought up, I think they sell at that point. The only hope they have is getting 7 out of 10. They have Robbie Ray coming back really really soon. He looked good in San Jose. You have Blake Snell, who has allowed no runs over his last 12 innings, only 2 hits. Suddenly he's might be figuring stuff out, which is funny because you and I and Willie talked about this. He's known as a second half pitcher. We just didn't know his first half was going to be so horrendous. So
Oh my
anything
God.
better than the first half might be considered a good second half. But if he's figured stuff out, I mean, he could, him and Ray, if he's pitching well, and then eventually Cobb, they might have a good starting rotation the rest of the way. But I don't know. This is going to be difficult. What do you think at this point? I mean, if you were to had a gun to your head right now, are you buying? Are you selling? Are you standing pat?
I'm selling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling Camilo Duval. I'm selling Wilmer Flores. I'm selling whoever anybody will take at this point. Um, I don't think they have it. It's actually 11 games because Colorado, they have a doubleheader a week from Saturday, scheduled doubleheader.
Oh, thanks.
Um,
Okay.
but I'm with you. This is the assessment time. This stretch, this 11 game stretch, 3 against Colorado, 4 against the Dodgers, 4 against Colorado. That's the stretch that's going to tell them whether or not they're in contention. And here's the
Right.
thing, though: these are the Giants. They're going to go and they're going to like beat Colorado. What I say? They played them 10, 7
Yeah,
times.
that's right.
They're
They
going
have
to beat
that
them like
doubleheader
five
on
or
the
six or
27th.
seven. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they're going to beat them like 5 or 6 times. So we're all going to be like, "Oh, they've got a shot." Farhan's going to be like, "Oh, they got a shot," and then they're going to play Oakland and Cincinnati and Washington and probably come back to earth and it'll be just another mirage like the Giants have. That's my biggest concern is they're going to look like they can play baseball again over the next couple weeks, and then they're suddenly going to turn into buyers or stand patters, and then they're going to fall apart right after it happens.
Mm-hmm.
We knew this. We knew this. Robbie Ray's coming back. He's going to be great. Blake Snell. We didn't expect it to be. It's like a trade. We didn't expect any of that stuff, but I think the two like, what's the point of them getting there? What is the point of them winning the last wild card? Are they going to suddenly get in
Yeah.
the tournament and this team's going to get hot? I mean, I guess the argument can be made. Yes, we've got Logan Webb, Robbie Ray, and Blake Snell at the top of the rotation. Harrison on his good days. We can't trust Hicks right now, so we don't throw
Yeah.
him up there anymore. So, I mean, these are the decisions that they're making, and we can't even come up with a simple answer. That's the thing. So how's Farhan supposed to come up with a simple answer, or Pete Patilla, or whoever's running the show right now?
Mm-hmm.
So I think my gut instinct is they should sell. Do I think that they will sell? I don't know. I'd love to make a prediction and stand by it, but I don't have one right now. It's too tough to tell. These next, like you said, these next 3 series are just so important. But if they go to LA and they lose 4 straight in LA or 3 or 4 in LA, I mean, can't we just call it done? Can't we just be like, okay, you're better. We'll see you next year. I mean,
Right.
I don't know. Do you want them to make moves? Is that what would it even, in your opinion, Chad, would it even help this ball club to make moves at this point? Is there a hole specific that we're missing that needs to be filled, or would it just be making moves for move's sake?
I think it's just making moves for move's sakes. I don't think, I mean, they have many holes on this team. And that's the problem. Is it looks like they're going to have an improvement to their starting rotation coming here soon, especially if Blake Snell's actually figuring it out. So that's a positive there. So I don't think they make a move for a starting pitcher. I think that's probably everyone agrees with that. I think, for the most part. Hitting wise, again, they're having issues with runners in scoring position, and that's really frustrating. But it's hard to acquire guys that you know are good in those situations, right? Yeah, you have your typical clutch guys, but there's not going to be a lot of quote guys on the market in terms of that. You have the bullpen issues, and specifically Camilo Duvall. You brought him up about potentially trading him, and I'd say maybe a month or 2 months ago, I would have said, no, this guy's going to figure it out. He's going to be all right. Last year, he was an all-star. He's not figuring it out, Eric. I mean, he's been really, really bad this year. He overall is a 4.38 ERA. His WAR is actually negative right now. His WHIP is 1.622. But since June 1st, he's gotten worse. He has a 6.91 ERA, 9 walks in 14 and a third innings. Hitters are hitting 322 against him in that frame, in that span, and he has a WHIP of almost 2 at 1.95. This is an extended period of time. This is multiple appearances. And so it was brought up, especially his last appearance right before the break, in which Blake Snell dazzled Giants fans. He was perfect through 6, and he ended up giving up a hit in the 7th inning, and then they erased him on a double play. So no batter ever even got to second base. And eventually they have a 2-0 lead going to the 9th inning, and Camilo just absolutely craps on home plate. And he allowed the tying runs to score. And thankfully, the Guardian center fielder airmailed it on a Yastrzemski triple.
Oh my God! Keep the ball in front of you. It's the
my God,
inning.
right?
What are you doing?
I not only the horrific decision to die for that, because the worst thing is a triple or inside the Parker, but if you play conservative, I believe there were 2 outs at the time, or maybe there was 1 out. I can't recall.
No, he's leading off the inning.
I was leading off. Okay. Okay, so it's a leadoff single as opposed to a leadoff triple. I mean, come on. Yeah, you got to play smart there. And then the airmail, of course, that was inexcusable. So thank you. There's a gift to the Giants for sure. So that kind of bailed Camilo out. They brought this up with Mike Krukow on the morning show the next day. And Mike Krukow, he's a homer. Like, we all know that. He gets critical once in a while, of Giants players, but usually he gives them the benefit of the doubt, going, well, it's okay. It's only been a couple of bad streaks. Every player goes through this. You hear all the, the normal stories from players, just kind of, giving them a break. Not this time. He unloaded on Camilo Duvall, and so I have that audio here. So let me play it for you.
I really don't know. I don't know. From here, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if he's the guy coming out of the break. I mean, quite honestly, you have to have a more confident arm in that slot. Do you put in Ryan Walker? Do you put in anybody else? I mean, what is Tyler Rogers done in the high leverage situation, pitching the 8th inning? He's been great. So there are other options there, and there is concern. And and really, if you're Bob Melvin, you might even consider that this is something that he needs to go down there, work on a few things, kind of a head slap, calm down, find out what is really important in certain situations, what you have to do in a 2-run lead when you're facing a guy who really should have no business in that batter's box against you. So, I mean, there's a couple changes that he has to make to be able to get back to where he was. And right now, he's not the same guy he was a year ago.
So those are some pretty strong words, Mike. So he's definitely on the radar.
I'm pissed off. That 2-0 lead and that walk, especially when he had the 1-2 count, that's unforgivable for a closer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unforgivable for a closer. He's right about that. It was. And Camilo's been doing this a lot lately. It's the lack of focus, especially when he gets ahead of a hitter 1-2. And then he walks him in a 2-run game. So you rarely hear Mike fired up like that about being critical of one of his own players. But that shows you how far it's gone. And I think he is a potential for trade bait, Eric, just like you brought up. At this point, can he redeem himself? Of course he can. Well, every player can redeem themselves. Maybe he's just not in the right mental space for it. Maybe they can leverage some value out of him. Maybe they can use a Ryan Walker or someone else to take up that closer role, because the Giants aren't going anywhere this year, I don't think. And so you might as well extract some value out of them. And they've done this in the past where they could have gotten value out of guys like Madison Bumgarner and others, and they just never pulled the trigger, or at least they didn't find a suitor. Maybe they didn't find the value they wanted. but it's about time they actually get something for one of these guys. I don't know.
Well, he's got quite a wild hair. He's got quite a wild hair up his nose about Camilo, and I don't know. I just seems like Kruko is always overly critical of Duvall compared to some other pitchers. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just something I notice. I think it's fair to be critical of Duvall, but it's like you said, focus. Focus seems to be the issue. The guy's got filthy stuff, but when he's going 1-2 to a walk,
These are uniforms.
clearly he's losing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Clearly he's using. Clearly he's losing focus somewhere along the way. So I mean, I don't see any better options in the bullpen either. That's the thing. Ryan Walker, yeah, I get it. He's an option. Tyler Rogers, I could never trust for that
No.
role just because
No, I
it's too
couldn't
much
either.
contact. So Camilo's it. He's the best they got, and I definitely. I think at this point, trade is not a bad idea. Maybe Camilo needs a different uh, organization or outlook or a different people around him. Maybe he does. I don't know. You're right though.
I
Like Kruko is really fired up, and I get it. We're all fired up too. But I mean,
yeah.
like, there's not much better than Duvall.
He has amazing stuff. We all know this. The guy throws 100 miles an hour, has a mean slider, all that stuff. He has what we interpreted as ice in his veins, like nothing bothered him. I also think that can swing too far one direction. You can also, have good stuff, but your lack of discipline because maybe you're just not as focused. You're just like, it's another day on the job. Here we go. So yeah, he's not nervous. It's not like he's intimidated by the batter. It's not like maybe he's not fearing failure like a lot of people do, and their sphincter tightens up. Maybe it's the opposite problem. Maybe he's like, whatever. Here we go. I walked him. Okay, here we go. Maybe it's lack of focus. Maybe it's the opposite problem. I don't know. But it appears to be more mental because physically he seems to be okay. And
Yeah, he
I
has
don't
a
know.
hard
I
time
don't know what
getting
it
it
takes.
back. When he
Yeah.
loses it, he has a real hard time getting it back. And the other problem with Camilo is if his slider's not working, he'll just pump the fastball. If his fastball's not working, he'll just keep coming over and over again with the slider.
Yeah.
And hitters are sitting on it. I that's the other thing. Hitters are seeing him better. They just seem to be. They're squaring the ball up better against him. They're getting better shots in against him. So
322 batting
something.
average
Yeah, when
against
you
since
said that,
June.
that jumped out at me. I was like,
That's
wow. Like
incredible.
my eyes told me that, but I didn't know the numbers were the same when it came to that. I think he's the reason though that they're losing games? No, not at all.
No,
That's
no,
not
no,
it.
no, no. He only has one
But like,
loss this year and like whatever, 4 blown saves. It's not like, he's not contributing terribly to
well,
this, but
but that raises the other question. Is part of the reason that he's struggling because the Giants are struggling. If the Giants were
mm-hmm.
better and he was entering games more often and he was getting more opportunities to have saves instead of sitting there for a week and then finally getting into a 6-1 game,
Yeah.
that's not what he's designed for. That's not what they've groomed him for. So I wonder if that's part of the problem too. And again, that probably goes back to focus, like you said. The team's not good. He's not as engaged. When his number's called upon, he's not as ready as he could have been. It could be all these factors. It's obviously speculation, but he's clearly not getting the job done. And I think it's because the Giants are losing. I think it's he struggles as they struggle. Because if we look back, when they're going good, when he's pumping out saves, left and right, it's just because he's constantly pitching.
Yeah.
Now he's getting a week between appearances. It's just not working out as well anymore.
Yeah, and like you said, some of those appearances are non-safe situations just to get him work. And he's actually been even worse in those situations.
Horrible
There was
in
a
those.
stat, this is before his last few appearances, but they had it broken down for if he had a 1 or 2 run lead versus if it was a 4 run or larger lead. His ERA is like over 10 when it's 4 runs or more. But for whatever reason, he definitely loses focus in those situations. He's just like, I'm just gonna throw frisbees up there and whatever. But lately, it's even been the tighter situations. He's not been very good in either. So he needs to suck it up. And these next 10 or 11 games are going to be crucial in deciding which way Farhan goes. I just don't want to see it. What we keep seeing the last couple years, where it's like they don't sell, they either stand pat or make some small moves. and they just go nowhere. And you're like, God damn it. You know, it's like kissing your sister. It's like, just,
Yeah.
can we do something here?
We have a running joke in the Giants chat or admin chats. How the Giants are just one good week away. That's how
Always,
Farhan
right?
always views
All
it.
it takes is
They're
one good
always
week.
right. And last year showed you run out of weeks after a while. So that's why it was nice to hear Farhan come out and say something this time around, because we've been flying blind coming into these trade deadlines lately. And I don't think
Mhm.
we're flying as blind right now. I think Camilo is absolutely a trade possibility at this point.
Yeah.
I think if they could unload Conforto, they would do the same.
I think he's a
I think that,
total trade bait too. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, dude, this is definitely a time they could try to get some for their expiring contract guys. I mean, Snell is a possibility to be traded. He really honestly is. It's just a matter of his opt out and whether or not he's going to kick that in or not. So
Mhm.
teams are wary of that when it comes to it. But like I said, Conforto's the perfect choice. Flores, Doval. I mean, maybe even Jordan Hicks signed a 4-year deal. That's too much.
No,
But
that's
there's
too much.
definitely
Yeah.
pieces out there that they could deal if they want to. So,
Blake
they're not.
Snell is an interesting one because he'll have what, 2 more starts before the trade deadline, and let's say
Mhm.
he goes out and he has 2 more excellent starts, at least quality starts, and then he's got 4 under his belt. And now teams are looking at him going, okay, disregard what he did because he had whatever issues were going on. That's healed. He's figured it out. If we had him down the stretch run and in the rotation for the playoffs, that would be killer, right? I mean, I think we all would agree with that. So his value
Yep.
would just skyrocket at that point. And it's kind of minimal risk for the Giants in the sense of um, even if he had a really strong second half and stays with the Giants and the Giants don't make the playoffs, I don't think he would opt out to get more than $31 million a year if he had his ERA was still above 5 or whatever. Um, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong about that. But if he does have that upward trajectory, the Giants could extract some value out of that, as opposed to paying him another $30 million next year. Because another team could be thinking the same thing. Like, and you're right. They need to talk to him and understand, like, is he going to opt out or not? And maybe he's not even going to make that well known to anyone, because it's going to depend on a lot of factors. But they might take a flyer on him, and I wouldn't be mad about that necessarily.
Right. I mean, it's not like hashtag Forever Giant with Blake
Yeah.
Snell. I mean,
Right?
they already cut the guy they traded for Austin Slater,
Ugh, I know. I know. It's
which
we didn't even
I
mention
mean,
that.
I'm happy.
We haven't recorded since they
No,
got rid of Austin Slater. Now that you bring that up, I mean, it already happened more than a week ago. But I mean, he was the longest tenured Giant. He was with him since 2017, which really isn't that long. But the Farhan regime is just a turnstile of players. So, he's survived this whole time until now. So,
well,
yeah, he
that's the
got
thing.
rid of
They
the guy
traded
they
him for
traded him for.
yeah, they traded him for Alex Young, and then immediately everybody's like, "Oh, Alex Young pitched 20 games for the Giants in 20 whatever," and I'm like, "Really? I don't remember that. I don't remember any of the names." There was somebody that pitched for them earlier this year. I was like, "Who the hell is that?" Like,
Yeah.
that is what made it weird with Slater is he was the longest tenured Giant. I remember he felt like a kid back in 2017,
Yeah.
2018. And now he just feels like Mike Yastrzemski's buddy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, another guy we kept thinking was going to turn the corner, have a it just never happened. So, and this year
Yeah.
he took a step down, so it is what it is. All right, well, let's move on to the All-Star game just real quickly. We don't have to dwell on the home run derby. No one I think it was a pretty
Came through the night.
You and Willie were texting me about that, and I was catching up on YouTube just watching the Derby itself, fast forwarding through. So I never saw the anthem or heard it until the next morning. They played it in its entirety on KNBR, and they were bringing up older national anthems like Fergie at the NBA All Star Game, Roseanne Barr in San Diego in 1991. Carl Lewis, I forgot about Carl
Yep,
Lewis.
in Jersey,
Yeah,
yeah.
he sang one, and they were talking about all these awful ones. And this was just prior to her coming out saying basically she was drunk and she's checked herself into rehab. But that was god awful, obviously. Not saying I wouldn't have to drink before I sing the national anthem. I'm just saying she was bad. A lot of artists go out, you know, chemically altered, but they can perform very, very well. She apparently crossed that threshold.
Yeah. Well,
Where,
I mean, it's
yeah,
not
you
an
can't
easy
walk straight.
song. Right. It's not an easy song to sing in the first place, but
No.
she was pitchy, dog.
Oh, she was horrible. But aside from that, yeah, look, the field it's kind of like the slam dunk contest in recent years. It's just not exciting, right? I was looking at the
Right.
lineup going, wow, that guy has 9 home runs. Uh, Two Giants have more than that, but they're not in the home run derby. Like, it was strange how they chose some of these players, but whatever. It is what it is. But
Well,
Teoscar Hernandez ended up
well,
winning it
I'm
all,
gonna, all right.
unfortunately.
I'm gonna soapbox for a second.
All right.
Marcell Ozuna was in this home run derby.
Mm-hmm.
Marcell Ozuna, the same guy that was suspended for domestic violence for choking,
Yes.
and him choking his wife is literally on cop video. This is the guy MLB wants to promote. This is the guy they want to run out. Like, I
Yeah.
have no problem with him being elected an all-star. The guy's having an all-star worthy season. But there's no need to prop up a guy that is proven to be a piece of shit. Don't prop him up. Do not make him the face of your sport. No, we're not making him the face of the sport, but yes, you are. People are tuning in that night that don't normally tune in. And they're seeing Marcelo Ozuna and thinking, oh, who's this cool guy? Instead of, oh, wow, look at this piece of crap. He's lucky to still have a job, which is what they should be thinking. So that was my one soapbox moment. I have total issue with the fact that Ozuna was in this contest. I have less issue with Alec Bohm, and I was like, "Why the hell is Alec Bohm?" And then you watched him in the contest, and he had the smoothest swing. He had
Mm-hmm.
the most repeatable swing, and I really thought he was going to win the whole thing before Teoscar beat him in that swing off. But when it came to Ozuna, that just left a sour taste in my mouth, and it made me interested less. I started to root against Ozuna. I didn't
Yeah.
root for a good time. I rooted for a specific purpose, and I don't think that that's what Major League Baseball wants. So I thought that was an absolute poor choice for them to put Ozuna in the contest. And like you said, I mean, it's like not everybody knows who Adolis Garcia is. Granted that was his hometown. Bobby
Yeah.
Witt Jr. They don't necessarily know who he is yet, even though I thought he looked good. Teoscar Hernandez, the guy who won it. I mean, he's been toiling in obscurity in Toronto. Now he's a Dodger. Suddenly people know who he is. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it is. It's like you said, it's like the slam dunk contest. It's not the same. It doesn't have the same star power. I would much rather have watched Elliot Ramos than Alec Bohm, but I'm a Giants fan.
Exactly, we're Giants fans. But yeah, gone are the days. You always had Ken Griffey Jr. and Mark McGuire and Barry Bonds and even Sammy Sosa and those guys participating. And you know, Shohei's not in it. Aaron Judge is not in it. A lot of these big guys just aren't in it,
Right.
and it's kind of frustrating.
Harper.
Yeah, Harper and some of these guys made an appearance or two before, but Pete Alonso, man, the polar bear who had won twice in a row, I guess. He just tanked, man. He was awful. I think he hit 12 home runs. I think it was the second lowest amount in the entire thing.
Yep.
Oh well. Yeah, quite a performance.
I
Well, we
mean, it
haven't.
was it was entertaining, but it wasn't like must see television.
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't. Look, your Giants All Stars. I thought they were only going to get one, but they ended up getting two. Elliot Ramos got voted in. Well, not voted in, selected as a reserve, shall we say. But it was great, to see two Giants in there. Finally, Logan Webb, who really deserved to be an All Star the last couple of years, finally got his chance to shine. But let's talk about those performances. They were nothing to write home about. After the National League took a quick 3-0 lead after Shohei hit a 3-run bomb, Logan Webb goes out there in the bottom of the third and just laid an egg, man. 3 hits and a walk, and gave up 3 earned runs, and the American League tied it off of him. And then Elliot Ramos got a pinch hit appearance and played right field in the 6th and struck out. And then Hunter Green gave up a 2-run home run to, what's his face? Jarren Duran of Boston. And American League wins again for the 10th time in 11 years. The National League finally winning last year, breaking a 9-game losing streak. But I thought, the National League might have had a chance at this one. But unfortunately, Logan Webb had a hand in that loss. And in fact, what I thought was really notable is I noticed he gave up 3 hits. And I noticed that Hunter Green gave up 2 hits. And then I noticed the box score, American League only had 5 hits. That's right. Only 2 pitchers gave up all 5 hits in 2 innings. The other 7 innings, well, I guess 6 innings because they didn't hit the bottom of the ninth. National League pitchers were hitless or held American League hitless. So, yeah, it's not exactly what you want your the representatives from your team to do. Strike out, whatever. Guys do that all the time, but yeah. Local League
Sounds like a
struggled.
typical Giants game, though, doesn't it?
It
How
did,
often have we
like,
seen it? The Giants, put 2, 3 runs on the board only to have Logan or somebody else come out and just give it right back up the next half inning. It seemed real par for the course for the Giants season. It sucks when both players get in the game and they just don't do anything. They're obviously not blaming Webb for the loss, but that is fascinating that the American League had 5 hits, 3 off Logan Webb, 2 off Hunter Green, and that was it.
yeah.
And they still managed to win the game. I mean, I didn't get to watch it, but that sounds like a boring game.
No. I mean, I don't know. It was good. You had a lot of the guys mic'd up, which was kind of fun, you know? You had Trey Turner mic'd up, and he was a lot of fun over there at shortstop. In fact, he made an amazing diving play while he was mic'd up. And so they were talking to him and joking to him about that. That was kind of cool. But yeah, the actual gameplay was kind of eh. Paul Skeens came out. Of course, he started for the National League, and he struck out 1 and was throwing gas, but he didn't like blow the doors off anyone. It was just kind of a pedestrian inning, you know? It was fine. It was perfect, but it was just like, okay. Actually, I shouldn't say it was perfect. He walked Juan Soto in front of Judge, and then he did he get Judge on the strikeout or not? I can't remember because he only struck out 1 that inning. But anyway, yeah, the game itself wasn't terribly exciting. I'll be honest with you.
It never
And
is. It's the talking to the players and that stuff that
yeah,
I'm starting to remember is the best.
yeah, no, that's really what it is. So, but now the American League in that 10 out of 11 have taken a 48-44 lead, minus the ties. We don't talk about those in the All-Star game. So pretty crazy. And then I guess the last thing we should talk about here is the list of the Giants draftees. We just had the summer June MLB draft, and they ended up drafting 18 players. We won't go over all 18. Let's just go over like the first 3, I would say. But first round, number 13 overall, they selected outfielder James Tibbs III from Florida State. He's almost 22 years old, 6 foot, 200 pound dude. He slashed 363 with 28 home runs, 58 walks, 37 strikeouts, and his slot value was $5.2 million. Yeah, they need some more bats, but the Giants draftees have been kind of hit or miss lately. You have some guys that, and look, you have your Patrick Bailey. He's having a solid year, by the way. It seems to me it's very quiet. He's hitting 285, Eric. That's like the new 320. Like, he's hitting really well.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
It seems
Obviously,
like
Elliot Ramos, who we thought, was going to come up, finally exploded onto the scene this year. And became an all-star. So hopefully he's going to be here to stay. And that really wouldn't have happened without some of the injuries the Giants had earlier in the year. So particularly, Lee going down, that gave Ramos the door that he needed. So, these things do have a little bit of silver lining. So hopefully, Lee is back at the beginning of next year. Their second pick was not until the 4th round, number 116 overall. I don't know where the draft picks were that they traded away. I don't have the history on that. I'm sure I can look it up. But that was a huge
yeah,
gap.
it was because they signed Snell and they signed somebody else that they forfeited those draft picks.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah. So they got another outfielder, Dakota Jordan from Mississippi State, 21 years old.
From everything I read, that seemed like the steal for them.
That's what a
Was this
lot of
Mississippi
people were
State guy?
talking about. That was like a
He was
steal,
ranked like
so.
number 34 on the MLB prospect board,
Mhm.
on the draft board. And I mean, what did you say? They got him 140 something,
116th.
116th. I mean, it's pretty good when the 34th best player drops to 116. So that might be
Yeah.
a steal. He might be somebody to look out for.
And their third pick was 5th round, number 149 overall. Another outfielder, Jacob Christian, out of San Diego. And he had 26 home runs this past year and hit 364 in 235 plate appearances. pretty damn good, man. That's a home run every 10 plate appearances. Not bad.
Jeez.
Yeah.
It's a
And then
very
you go down the list
different
from there.
draft. You remember there was a couple years ago where they drafted pitcher after pitcher after pitcher after pitcher.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't take a pitcher until their 5th pick in the 7th round. Left-handed pitcher Greg Ferrone from Alabama. And then they went with another pitcher, a right-hander, then a shortstop, a pitcher, an outfielder, a shortstop, a pitcher, a first baseman, a pitcher, a pitcher, a pitcher, a pitcher, a pitcher, a catcher. So they did round out the second half of their draft, definitely with more pitching talent. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Giants usually front load with pitching talent. This time, I think they've recognized their their lack of offense. They need to get some of these guys up here. So
Yeah,
we'll see
and
how
soon.
those
I mean,
guys
it
do.
only it only took Ramos 6 years, so we'll see these
Yeah.
guys in 2030.
Yeah. It'll take them 6 years. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
dude. Could you
God.
imagine? Yeah. Some of these guys finally make the show in 2030. We're like, he's drafted back in 2024. Holy crap. That's so good. Oh man. Well, yeah, I'm glad we could catch up here, Eric. Talk a little shop, and I know we're not the most positive right now, but I mean the Giants aren't giving us much of a reason to be positive. They got to come out of the gate strong to give us a little bit of hope and to give management a reason to either not sell and stand pat, or to even make a tweak or two here or there. Which again, I don't know what that would be. That would significantly improve their chances of making the playoffs because you don't want to pass over a good deal for like a Camilo Duvall or a Blake Snell or a, Conforto, and try to battle and even finish above 500, but still fall short of the playoffs because you have 5 or 6 teams ahead of you where, one or two of them still do better. That would be ultimately, I think, the worst thing that could happen. So I hope the Giants just make a hard and fast decision. And maybe the play on the field over the next 11 games is going to make the decision for them. Maybe they lay an egg and they go 4-7 or 3-8, and that's it. That's all she wrote.
I mean, that wouldn't shock us. That really wouldn't surprise us at all. It's a weird schedule. I mean, we've got these 11 division games coming up right after the break, and then they only have 9 more division games the rest of the season,
Jesus, is that right?
and it's only Arizona and San Diego. We will be
Wow.
done with Colorado and the Dodgers after they come out of this stretch of the break. Yeah, I've been
Yeah.
looking ahead at the August schedule. I mean, it's literally every team is from a different division: Cincinnati, Washington, Detroit, Atlanta, Oakland, the White Sox, Seattle, Milwaukee, Miami. I mean, this whole new playing every team makes a month like August that's coming up just look very, very weird for the Giants. So it's kind of like their fate's in their hands. They're not going to be able to beat the teams in front of them. I mean, they have 6 against the Padres in September. That should be helpful. But other than that, they're not really playing, who's directly in front of them. Even
Yeah.
with these games, I mean, Washington's not really in the race. Cincinnati is, but then they have Detroit. Atlanta's leading the wild cards, could still win their division. Oakland's out of it. The White Sox are out of it. Seattle's in the other division, the other league. Milwaukee is, fighting for their division. So it's kind of weird the way their schedule shapes up. They've kind of got to prove stuff to themselves as to whether or not they're a contender. And I mean,
That's
who
a really good
knows?
point. I didn't look at that. Yeah. I mean, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, San Diego, Arizona, Mets, and Cardinals are the teams they would like to face to help their chances, right? You win those teams or you win those games and those teams are losing. So you're always gaining on those opponents. But yeah, you got the
Right,
Dodgers, whom they're not going to catch. That's kind of irrelevant. The Rockies, the A's, the Nationals are behind them. Detroit, Atlanta, which is either far ahead of them or going to win the Central. A's, White Sox, Mariners, Brewers again fighting with Atlanta, probably out of reach anyway.
right.
Marlins, D-backs. There you go. You have 3 against the D-backs, and you have 6. Actually, you have 6 against the D-backs, 6 against the Padres, 3 against the Cardinals, and that's all in September. But at that point, I mean, September, right? They maybe
Right.
completely out of it at that point. So you never know. God, that's frustrating. August, yeah, they can't really catch any ground through their own performance. It's they can
No.
win and those other teams can win, and they're just not going to catch up. until September.
Yeah,
So
I kind of misspoke. I said it's up to them, but in essence, it's not up to them by having a schedule like that. All they
yeah,
can do is take care of their own business. They can't beat the teams in front of them if they're not playing
nope,
them. So
nope, nope. That's all they can do. So
sell, sell, sell. That's why I'm
sell,
them.
baby, sell, baby, sell, baby. All right, maybe we're gonna learn for next year's season preview.
Right? I
It's the
doubt it.
innocence of spring. It's the hope springs eternal. Every team has some hope, unless you're the Marlins or the Rockies. But yeah, it's frustrating to just ever since 2021, which was a surprise out of hell. We keep having these little brief glimpses of hope, and we try to rationalize it and calculate it, and it seems tangible, it seems possible. And again, the Giants just seem to be mid.
Yep.
Oh boy, here we go.
That's this episode. The Giants are mid.
Giants are mid. All right, that's the title. Bank it.
Yep.
There it is. All right, yeah. Well, coming up, Giants have 3 at Colorado, then 4 at LA, and then they come back home for 4 against Colorado after that. So those are those 11 games before the July 30th deadline. We'll definitely be back before the deadline to talk about the recent performance, to see if we've changed our minds at this point. But both Eric and I are pretty much in the sell camp. Again, if they went, 10-1, maybe our opinion changes. But other
I
than a
would think
really,
so.
really good stretch, yeah, it's probably not going to happen.
I mean, if they go 10-1, then they're 57-51, and we feel like, hey, they've got a shot. So
Yep. Then they got a shot. But other than that, yeah, because again, we keep thinking, well, what if they have a good week? Just like you said, what if they have a good week? What if they go 6-1? You never know. All right. Well, that'll do it for episode 303. You can reach us, as always, individually on Twitter at ChadK21, at 2outhits for Eric. That's with the number 2. You can email us, torturecast@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook, where we post all our episodes, along with at torturecast.com. And if you're listening to this, you know where to get the podcast. Eric, you have anything going on with Giants chatter that you want to talk about?
no, not really. Everybody's busy for the summer, just like here. So
Yeah.
it's just
No,
status quo.
yeah, my job has gotten real busy with a lot of field work, and yeah, it's hard to find the time. But we're Giants fans, like I said. We don't do this for money. We do it for the love of the game, baby. The love of this team. So it doesn't sound like we're in love with this team right now.
I'll love it a little better when they start winning some games.
But just like, a marriage or any relationship, you go through your ups and downs. And we're kind of in that mid to down period right now. We're like, okay.
There's that word again.
Any other teams available right now?
I mean, I have it so bad. I watch the Cubs games too, and they're 47-51, a half a game behind the Giants,
Yeah.
last in their division. It's just so frustrating to watch
You're
right
like,
now.
yeah, you're like, nothing for your wife's team to really hang her hat on either.
No,
So.
and I get Arizona locally, and they're around 500. So, I watch a lot of bad baseball.
Yeah, very, very much the mediocre sport. I mean, the Phillies have the best record in the majors right now, and those guys look like they're having fun. They have 3 guys in the starting infield last night, for God's sakes, and another, 3 pitchers on the roster. They had like 6 or 7 all-stars. It was insane. Yeah. So, back in those heydays when we had 5 or 6 Giants all-stars, kind of between that World Series run. The Milkman was the MVP that one year, and Panda had a big hand in that game. That was fun,
and
right?
Matt Cain was the winner of that game. He started that game. That's what I thought. I always think of 2012.
Yeah.
When Melky won the MVP, Panda hit a triple, a bases clearing triple, and Matt Cain was the winning pitcher. I'll always think of that as, when we talked about how the Giants performed this year, I was like, well, we did have that one year where everybody did great. So, at least we can still hang our hat on that one.
And by the way, that was the last game that actually won prior to last year when they broke the 9-game losing streak. So that was just crazy to think about that. Oh, before we close, I actually did want to bring up one more thing. It's just a design thing. It's an aesthetic thing. Yeah, I'm 50 years old, so I'm stupid, old, on the lawn, get off my lawn kind of guy. When I grew up watching the All-Star game and being a rabid Giants fan, nothing made me more proud than to see the black and orange white or gray uniform on the field, in the batter's box, on the infield, in the outfield during the All-Star game. You can see your player, you saw the font, you saw the number, you saw the logo, you go, that's my guy. Whether it be a Kevin Mitchell, a Will Clark, or later with Barry Bonds, or, Nowadays, they've flipped it. They now have the guys wear their individual jerseys for things like batting practice and the home run derby. But for the game, for the past several years, they all wear the AL and NL All-Star jerseys and caps. And to me, it takes away that feeling I had as a child and as a teenager. Yeah, you can still recognize your guys if you're paying attention. It just isn't obvious. And it doesn't hit you in the same way. To me, I was watching last night. I was like, that is Logan Webb. But he's not in a Giants uniform. So it makes it feel like he's pitching on a celebrity softball team, It just didn't have that same impact for me. And I loved seeing it. I even loved seeing Giants and Dodgers playing together on the same field. There was something kind of funky about that. I kind of enjoyed in a weird way, And that's gone. Now, Rob Manfred did say he knows the sentiment from the fans, and they're going to have discussions about potentially reverting back to that in years to come. And I don't know how many All-Star jerseys they were selling if they still keep those All-Star jerseys for batting practice and the home run derby. You know what I mean? Like, you can still sell the jersey online, just don't have them wear it during the game. So I'm trying to figure out what is Major League Baseball's motivation to have that when, in my opinion, what I've seen online, it's overwhelming that most baseball fans want to see the individual team uniforms during the game.
Yeah, but none of us are buying those jerseys. I think it all just comes down to money. It really does. I'm 100% with you on this. I love the aspect of the different uniforms. Seeing them all play in the same game just made it so much more different and special. Like
Yeah.
I knew that was John Burkett on the mound for my Giants because he was wearing the San Francisco uniform.
Yeah, I
But
love that.
and for a fan growing up in a different location, that was a big deal. You know what I mean? I didn't get to see the Giants too often. Burkett, I don't know why he came to mind, but things like that. So I totally agree with you on that. But I don't know. I mean, I didn't hate the uniforms this year. I really didn't. But it's all about money, and that's what they're gonna do. I can't imagine Rob Manfred saying, "Well, the integrity is much more important than the $7 million we're gonna rake in from these jersey sales or whatever the hell
Yeah.
it's gonna be."
Yeah.
So it'd be tough to change. Maybe they will have those discussions, but I'm 100% with you. I can't stand the fact that they changed that. It sanitizes the game in a sense,
Yeah,
and
it really does.
part of baseball is and whimsy, and there's none of that when everybody's dressed the same. So I'm with
I,
you. Bring back the old school look.
I also think baseball is unique in the four major sports. You cannot have an all-star game on basketball, football, or hockey with everyone wearing their individual jerseys. It would be way too confusing because of the way the players mix on the field. But in baseball, it's completely different. You have your 9 fielders and you have your batter and up to 3 base runners. That confusion just does not lie there. And we've seen it with a lot of the teams that have very similar colored jerseys, right? That happens on occasion. Where if, 2 teams wearing red tops or black tops or blue tops, it does happen. It's not supposed to. They're supposed to schedule it where one is a solid and one doesn't, or they have alternate colors, but it does happen on occasion. This is the situation where, you can wear your home jerseys if they dictated, like, okay, wear your unique home jersey as long as it's not a solid color, like wear your whites or your creams, and then the road jerseys can be your grays or your solid colors, and it's fine. And I love that uniqueness about baseball. I love that you can do that in that sport. Everyone can wear a different jersey and it's not going to be confusing, but you can pick out your player. You can pick out the guy on your team and feel proud of that, as opposed to, where's my guy? Where is he on the field yet? I don't know. Like, it's just much harder to pick out. You don't have that same, feeling once you see it on national TV. So my 2 cents, a little grumpy about it, but It is what
Yeah,
it
but
is.
we also romanticize the game in a way. We're talking about, hey, I want to see my guy because I can't see him all the time, or it looks different. But nowadays, anybody can watch any clip from any game, anytime,
Yeah,
anywhere. So,
very
it's
true.
just it's a different landscape than it used to be.
Yep,
So
yep.
I
I've
I
had to
can
accept
understand.
the pitch clock, which I admit was good for baseball. I didn't think it was going to be. I still, you and I differ on this one. I still don't like the DH, but I know I can't do anything about that. But I'm not going to die on that hill because that's 3 years ago. So what are you going to do?
Right, I was about to say because that battle has been
Yeah,
fought.
that's not coming back ever. I get it. Anyway, yeah, some change is good, but this is just one of those things. It's just the All Star. It's one game a year, whatever. It's not that
Right,
big of a
I'm
deal.
totally with you. Just
It's
let,
just
let, let's
to be
let's
nice.
keep let's keep the history in it at least.
Yeah. All right. Well, after I got a little grumpy about that, that'll do for episode 303. I gave you all the links earlier, but yeah, we'll be back in a week or so to talk about the potential looming trade deadline and what the Giants are going to do. But until then, have a great week. Go Giants. Abu.
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.